Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome to a very special Tuesday midday episode of the Steelers Preview Podcast. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis, or Bad Santa, I guess, as he's labeling himself. And we are getting you ready for the Week 17 Christmas Day game. The Kansas City Chiefs, yes, the Super Bowl champs from 2023, are invading Acrisure Stadium. Dave, welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going. It's Merry Christmas Eve. It's very busy, very hectic. So much going on with the Steelers, so much going on with life. We will get through it, and we will hopefully have a joyous occasion. Let's not ruin Christmas tomorrow.
Yes. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Also, 2022 and 2019, Jeff, to go ahead and raise the gravity of who is coming to town. Will it be the Kansas City Krampus? I don't think so. Will it be the Kansas City Grinches? No. It is going to be the Chiefs, and they might be bringing Taylor Swift with them, but we've got Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas is a W.
Is a W. That is indeed for sure. And this is going to be interesting. This game is unique. This is the holiday remix, as the NFL is labeling it, because all four of the teams that play on Christmas Day also played on Saturday, the week prior, and they're just switching whether they were home and away. I don't know. This is the NFL is getting away with this because they're saying it's the same amount of prep time as in a Thursday night game. But just from not from a fan perspective, think about this from a game perspective. Yay or nay on the Steelers, or not the Steelers, but yay or nay the NFL doing the Saturday to Wednesday thing. Dave, what do you think?
Do I even have to say it? This is one of the
Thursday
most
nights, so I would assume it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most hideous things they can do. This is ridiculous. It was ridiculous when we heard about it in May. It's been ridiculous ever since, and it's even more ridiculous that it's here now. I get you want Christmas Day games, but my goodness, when it's a Wednesday, don't force it. I mean, if you're going to do it, you have to. The only way you could have done it was to run 2 Thursday night games the week before and maybe give them a little bit more of a fighting chance. But then you're talking about a really short week before that. There's really no good way to do it other than to force something that really shouldn't work and that most people will probably complain about if they can't get it streamed properly.
That's true. Good point. Bryan, what's your take?
The Mike Tyson Jake Paul match was hideous. It was horrible. And a lot of people had problems trying to stream that fight. Now, I'm wondering if, I know that was over 20 million. I don't know what the audience is going to be because it's Christmas Day. I actually think it's going to be just as high because people will gather, and that will be a thing to do just like they do on Thanksgiving Day when they're visiting. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think there's going to be a lot, but you've got to worry about how it's going to be streamed and if we're going to be able to see it. This is not fair to the Steelers. It's not fair to the Chiefs, not fair to the Ravens, and not fair to the Texans. It's probably less fair to the to the Ravens and Chiefs because being on the road, I think that's a whole heck of a lot worse here. The Chiefs had Christmas Day last year. I mean, that comes with being the champs. It was at home. They lost to the Raiders at home. And I just don't know. I don't like this. I like what Dave said about a Thursday night game, but I don't know. Then you have the Sunday to Thursday, but I think this is a whole heck of a lot tougher. But nice thing, these teams are going to get a mini bye going into the last week of the season. But this is let them have basketball like they used to on Christmas Day.
Screw basketball. The NFL is king, and they're proving it, and so is college football. Football is dominating all the ratings too. But let me say this before I go back to Dave. I know Dave wants to say something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this, that my main issue with the games on Wednesday is not that they're playing on Wednesday. The NFL at least did it right by saying the 4 teams that are going to be playing on Wednesday, no one's going to have an advantage over the other because of the remix plan. So at least they did that part smart by Saturday to Wednesday and not having one team having to travel twice or one team playing it different, whatever. I hate that it's streamed on Netflix. I hate that this isn't a game that everyone can watch. I hated the playoff wildcard game that was on Peacock. I hate that, for those that don't have Amazon Prime, they can't watch Thursday Night Football. I can't stand this. And I've always, and I'm not going to change my tune on this, because when you have people like the three of us on this screen right now, or you're listening to, however you're consuming this podcast, that rely on Sunday Ticket, you pay a lot of money for a Sunday Ticket, and you're not guaranteed every game that's out of market. That pisses me off. So that's my main gripe with Wednesdays is it sucks. The short week, we deal with it. We dealt with it in week 12 when the Steelers went to Cleveland and played in the blizzard. But still, this sucks as well. But at least the NFL, I think I want to give them some credit. They got it right in terms of not giving anyone a distinct advantage. Dave, what did you want to say?
Well, I'm going to pile onto yours and then go back to something else. That is, they at least got it right to not giving anyone a distinct advantage, more than they don't already give them a huge advantage every freaking week of the season by playing on Thursday night at all. Because it's a huge advantage to the home teams on Thursday.
Sure.
Absolutely. But at least it's no more than it is during a typical week of the season because of what they did on Saturday. So you're right in that aspect, but it's still overall wrong what they're doing. I mean, here I am going into this game very similar. I mean, we're doing the parlay bets that for the article that Corey does. And I'm like, I hate betting on Thursday Night Football. I don't do it. Because it's not always the best team that wins. It's whoever's been able to put themselves in the best scenario. And honestly, I think the Steelers have a very big advantage being at home. They really do. But they also have a very bad advantage going up against the team with the best record in the NFL, who has just happened to win the last 2 Super Bowls. So that might kind of even out when you look at it. So, but my thing is, I don't like this because of, one, everything's so rushed. 2, it really does. It's rushed in a time of the year that there's already a rush going on. I talked about it with Rich Sunday night. Yeah, we had to go Sunday night because of the way they rushed everything. So it just adds to that just in life in general. But if you can come out of it relatively injury-free, that's the key that I would like to see for all 4 teams, even though I don't like all 4 teams. Would I love nothing more than to see the Ravens and Chiefs beat up after this? Yes, I would. But no, I don't want it to be as a result of the NFL screwing them with the schedule. I don't. So I'm not hoping that on anybody. I'm not. Okay. So I don't want anyone to be banged up, but especially if you can manage to pull out a win. Now, what a big advantage you have with that mini bye that you were talking about, to have so much time to get rested up ahead of the playoffs. And that's why I said it Sunday night, and I'm going to stick by it, because Jim Wexell put the idea in my head that if the Chiefs really wanted to play out everything to a huge advantage, and they would just rest people on Christmas, play one more tune-up game the last week of the season. And, and as long as you win that one, then you get another week off. And if you don't win that one because you weren't tuned up, then you get an easier opponent to try to tune up to the next week.
Bryan, any final thoughts before we move on? You're muted, Bryan. Come on now.
Sorry, there's background stuff here. So let me just say this. I mentioned the fact that the Chiefs have to play 2 years in a row on Christmas. I forgot about the Ravens. The Ravens were on the road last year in San Francisco, and now they're on the road in Houston. So they're getting the screw job here, but it's Harbs, and he doesn't have to be home for Christmas.
Did they crush in that game?
They crushed San Francisco last year. Yeah.
So for them, they're like, road, screw it, we'll do it anyway. But it wasn't on a Wednesday.
Yeah. So it's just it is a whole different animal. And last year it was on a Monday because
it was a Monday, so you had a break.
Because of leap year. Yeah,
yeah.
It's leap year, so that's why it's a Wednesday this year. But no, I think the Steelers do have. I think they're going to be fired up. I think that crowd is going to be there. I know Dave was talking about when the schedule came out. It didn't take him long to sell his tickets for Christmas Day. Is that correct?
No. So and they went for what I thought I'd have to try to give them away, and they were actually a pretty hot ticket during the summer. I don't know what they are now.
And I think it's also an advantage for the Steelers for it to be a 1:00 game too. Look, we're doing our predictions later. I just love the way that this sets up. I think a lot of us picked this game back in April, And I still feel pretty good about it, just for the fact that the Steelers have been down, and if they are who we think they are, they rise up. So I go back to 2016. That was just such the Immaculate Extension was so wonderful. There was such a great vibe watching them. And I was on a complete high, and then George Michael died an hour later, and then I was bummed again.
Sorry. I did not have George Michael being brought up on the Steelers preview.
You didn't have it
on my bingo card tonight.
Bingo card, man.
Good Lord. All right.
We wrote over top of it free space.
All right. So, hey, here's the thing. Just to let everyone know, the Steelers still do control their own destiny in terms of winning the AFC North, hosting a playoff game. If they win out, they win the North. That's just, it doesn't matter what the Ravens do. They still do control their own destiny. And a lot of fans poo-poo that and say, oh, that's not going to happen. Well, it certainly could. It absolutely could. And it starts with this game on Wednesday. And the biggest narrative, the biggest storyline, just like every single time there's a short week, whether it's Thursday night or whatnot, are injuries. Who's in, who's out. And when you talk about the Steelers, as of this being recorded, they have not released their official injury report yet. Maybe that'll come during the podcast. I don't know. But the Chiefs have released theirs because they have to travel and get to Pittsburgh before Wednesday's game. We can talk about what the Steelers situation looks like heading into this. And Dave has that because he writes the article for SteelCurtainNetwork.com. You ready, Dave?
Yes, I have the Steelers from yesterday in front of me. I'd have to look up the Chiefs for today because it's somewhere else. But yeah, we'll make it work.
Yeah. So go ahead and go to start with the Steelers.
Okay, the Steelers. And the thing is, it really comes down to today. It really does. And we don't know when it's coming. It's got to be here by 4:00. But even when it has to be here by 4:00, sometimes it doesn't get announced until much later. But of the 5 players who missed the game on Saturday, that was Justin Fields, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, George Pickens, and Larry Ogunjobi. Out of all of them, Justin Fields was limited on Monday. The other 4 were all full participants. Now, it was a walkthrough, but it was probably the most glorified practice they're going to have going up to this game. There's no practice time. And that's what makes it really frustrating for players like Joey Porter Jr. and Ben Skoranek, who left the game early. You can't judge if they can really go because you can't practice. Your body can't recover in enough time to get a practice in that you're not wearing yourself out for the next game. So based on a walkthrough, Skoranek and Porter did not practice. The only other player that had been listed in the projected report on Sunday, that's right, we had a Sunday injury report, I think for the first time ever. But I won't get into that, was Tyler Matakevich was listed with the knee, but he was full on Monday. So we'll have to see how that all plays out for the Steelers when we finally get what's going on, which I'm constantly checking the whole time while we're doing the show.
Yeah. Bryan, any thoughts on that from the Steelers so far?
Yeah, if the Steelers can get those important guys back, like a Pickens, a Jackson, a Deshaun Elliott, I think that's huge. Not having Joey Porter Jr. is, my gosh, that is just as big. But if you could get Dante Jackson back, it helps. So it looks like I don't think you're going to see a Joey Porter Jr. I am devastated about the loss of Ben Skoranek because I am telling you that game plan against the Ravens looked like it was heavy Ben Skoranek from the beginning. And I actually think that we talked a couple weeks ago, Jeff, and you brought this up. Has there been a role player like Ben Skoranek in the past? And we brought up the DHBs and brought up Matt Spaeth and those guys. But I think if you look back to about 3 years ago when he was on the Super Bowl team for the Rams, he played an important role as basically a third receiver. And he was coming up big late in the season. And I kind of feel like he's becoming one of those guys that might be a Steeler for a long time and might be figuring out in the plans for this team because he can catch a football real well. And he actually finds a way to get open. He's as versatile as he's a lot more versatile than you would think. So I really think they found a find when they got number 15 in there. I would love to see him suit up tomorrow, but I don't think you're going to see him based on Dave's report. But those other guys, just as important. On the Matakevich thing, I have not seen him. I know he does the dirty work on special teams. I have not heard his name as much this year, but they have so many studs on special teams that I don't think it kills them to lose a guy like that as it would have 6 years ago or even last year.
I think it's important to note that against the Ravens, the Steelers deployed a defensive package with multiple inside linebackers, not just your standard two, and it was Mark Robinson, not Tyler Matakevich.
Yes.
So in terms of depth chart and who you might see on the field and who wouldn't be, yeah, it makes sense in terms of Matakevich. I think the big concern that I have is surrounding the hamstring injuries to both Deshaun Elliott and George Pickens. Yeah, it all sounds great. Anyone that's ever pulled a hamstring, I don't care if you're just, your average Joe that's walking down the street, or your dog pulls you and you lunge and next thing you know, you yank a hamstring. It doesn't matter how you pull your hamstring. Those injuries are fickle. And when I say that, right when you think that they're good, it just takes one wrong step. In this case, one wrong for George Pickens or Deshaun Elliott, you plant your foot, you change direction, and then bang, it just yanks again, and now you're shelved for longer. I do have some pause with those players returning because I want to make sure that if they re-injure that, now you're talking about them missing a postseason game. And I know you don't live in your fears, blah, 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 that crap. But still, at the same time, you do have to think about the fact the Steelers do have a playoff game to look forward to, whether it's at home, whether it's away. They've clinched a playoff spot. You need those players in the postseason if you want a prayer to beat any of the teams that are in the AFC playoff picture. So that's something that concerns me. I also am curious about TJ Watt. TJ Watt clearly was not 100% against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, did they really overextend themselves? The Ravens weren't dropping back to pass to the point where you would expect TJ Watt to really, impact the game. Why? Derrick Henry ran loose on that defense. So you didn't have to. But I want to make sure that ankle is right. I want to make sure he's fully healthy. And so those are the concerns for me, injury-wise. Doesn't matter what their game status is heading into this game. Dave, any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, maybe living in your fears or not living in your fears, or the overabundance of caution was to not play those players last week on Saturday, knowing that they'd have to turn around and play again on Wednesday. Because once you bring them back, you don't want to bring them back and then sit them. If, out of caution, if you're going to be cautious, you've got to not bring them back and then let them go the next one. So that's, to me, you had to basically be all but cleared in order to play on Saturday in order for you to play this week. And I think that's what actually happened with these guys. I think if it was a playoff game on Saturday, I think George Pickens would have played.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
And here's one more thing. I'll blow your mind. If the Steelers weren't playing again until this coming Saturday, I think George Pickens and maybe even Deshaun Elliott played this past Saturday. It's the fact that it was 1-2. You just had to. You had to play a little bit extra safe. Honestly,
I get it. Yeah. Now, but we'll talk about the Chiefs, Dave. I found their report. If you want me to read it,
if you want, I just have the tweet that tells their statuses. I didn't look at anything else.
So this is what we know. This is from Pro Football Talk. It said that Kansas City has listed defensive lineman Chris Jones as questionable for the Wednesday matchup. His calf was upgraded to a limited participant on Tuesday's injury report. The Chiefs conducted a walkthrough on Tuesday. Jones had been a non-participant on Sunday and Monday's reports. Jones has 5 sacks with 9 tackles. They also, the Chiefs that is, have listed right tackle Jawan Taylor as questionable. He was limited on all 3 injury reports this week. Wanya Morris replaced Taylor at right tackle during Saturday's win over the Texans. Now also left tackle DJ Humphries with a hamstring and defensive back Jamari Connor with a concussion are both ruled out. Tight end Peyton Hendershot with a calf will be available, though the Chiefs have to activate him off injured reserve after he was designated to return this week. He was listed as a full participant on Monday and Tuesday. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes with an ankle, center Creed Humphrey with a shoulder, safety Justin Reed with a back, receiver Xavier Worthy with an ankle, receiver Nico Remigio with a knee, and cornerback Josh Williams with an ankle. All are off the injury report and are expected to play. the big name there, Chris Jones. Dave, what do you think?
I wouldn't play him if I was the Chiefs. There are things that are way more important than this game when it comes to him, especially when you get an extended layoff before you have to play again. It's not worth it. It's not worth going out there and having an injury that he could maybe return from in another week or so be one that he then needs 4 weeks for. It's just not worth it.
I mean, they have not secured the number 1 seed yet. I think a win does secure the number 1 seed for them, but at the same time,
they need one win. The magic number is 1. They either need 1 win or 1 Buffalo loss in those 4 games. Yeah.
Brian, what's your take on the Chiefs situation?
I would not play that man whatsoever. That guy is a devastating clogger. You need 100 plungers to just try to move that guy, and you can't. So all I'm going to say about Chris Jones is that I saw what happened to him on Saturday. This is 4 days later. In real life, if this was week 6, he's not playing in week 7. Now, this is not as desperate as it is for the Steelers. And so the Chiefs would be foolish to go ahead and play him and risk that injury. I would have a great problem with that if I was a Chiefs fan and they played him, because that's a very good defense. It's not going to kill him not to have him. And I would err on the side of caution, just like we were not complaining when Pickens and Deshaun Elliott did not play against the Ravens. We knew it hurt them, but you look at big picture, you would think that a guy like Andy Reid would look at the big picture here too, because in past years, I have cussed Andy Reid. I have cussed Andy Reid when he was with Philadelphia. I have cussed Andy Reid when he was with Kansas City, because the Steelers could have gone to the playoffs if he would have played his guys. This guy is a rester. He rests everybody. But this is not a situation. If you're as good as the Chiefs, you don't expect to lose 2 games down the stretch. You just don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I like Dave's formula too, that I would be resting more guys this week than I would last, especially with only a 4-day break, and let them have, because that 10-day layoff, you can't rest guys after a 10-day layoff and then have another 7-day I mean, if you rest those guys and you have a 7-day layoff, that's 17 days without playing football.
If they get the bye, you're talking actually 25, because it's 11 days if they play on Sunday. It depends on when if they'd be playing a Saturday or Sunday game in the next round. I mean, you're right, Brian, because I brought up the math to that before. The Chiefs can't take week 18 off if you got the first round bye. I mean, you can, but my goodness, to go that long, you're exactly right, Brian.
But I think in the playoffs, they need Chris Jones a whole lot more than they need him in week 17 in Pittsburgh on Christmas Day on 4 days rest after getting hurt. I want to make a comment, and this is not a joke, but I had to run to the supermarket right before this show, and I legitimately did pull a groin trying to juke past somebody. And it's funny, I juked past a guy. And I said, I'm sorry. And I texted this to you guys. I said, I'm sorry. And I saw he was wearing pirate stuff. And I said, hey, go Pirates. Merry Christmas. And he goes, hey, I listened to your show. I said, hey, we're on in 10 minutes. He's like, I'm friends with Dave Schofield. I'm like, Merry Christmas. But I legitimately, when I went past this man, I juked and I'm like, oh, I was limping to the broccoli section. And I almost took the broccoli and put it on my crotch.
Got some frozen peas as well, and planked them right on the ground.
Yeah,
I would bet my not expensive car that you did the middle-aged white guy "ope" as you juke too. You probably audibly said "ope."
Yeah. The hands up.
So, I mean, this has been exciting. So we not only hear about the injury status of one Brian Davis, but he calls Chris Jones a turd, and a giant turd at that. That means major plumbing issues to get him out of there. But also, you have to bring up Ryan Suckup. Like, you got to bring up Andy Reid resting players and the Ryan Suckup game. Like, you just have to bring that up. Like, why are you digging up those? Like, why are you rehashing those wounds? I don't need that.
Because
that was awful.
Not only did he kill the Steelers' chances. He killed my fantasy teams both years by resting guys in like weeks 14 or 15. Oh, I'll never forget 2004. 20 years later, I'm still pissed at that fat walrus. And I'm a fat guy, so I'm allowed to say that.
I can't believe you pulled a groin in the grocery
No,
store.
I did, and I am in a lot of pain. I pull a groin once a week. Groin injury.
There you go. I mean, Bryan is now listed as questionable. We have a PR report that says that he's been downgraded to doubtful.
I've been questionable since you hired me, Jeff.
That is true. And you have been downgraded to doubtful at times. But not out. He's not been ruled out yet.
I play hurt.
All right, very good stuff. That rivals the Beehive. So we'll take a break there. And so when we come back after the break, we're going to talk over under. We're going to do our predictions for the game, and we'll do all the other stuff that we do in the second half. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, thank you for being patient. If you're watching live on any platform, you know we didn't go anywhere. But for those on audio, you heard some ads there. We do appreciate it. And so let's get this thing started. Second half over under. Last week, we agreed on 3. So there's only 3 possible moving points. And this was interesting. I think I did not do well. I think I only got 1. So Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, when it came to the ones we agreed on, we were only 1 out of 3 there.
Okay.
So then when it came to the ones where you and I agreed on everything the whole time, Jeff. So it was just us versus bad. And unfortunately, it was bad, the one who meatloafed it. He got 2 out of 3. While I just got 1 out of 3. So he opened up his lead a little bit more. He got 3 compared to yours, you and I each getting 2. But when it came to the picking of the game and come on, it was a Steelers Ravens game. You always take a spread that's that big. That's what made that game so disheartening. Let's not get to that. But Jeff was the only one who took the over. Bryan and I both originally had scores that would have been a push. Yep. When Bryan went under, I almost pushed my score up 1 just to take the over, but I didn't. And I should have, but instead Jeff catches up there. So when you look at the overall scores, bad, he's way up there. He's got 51 compared to Jeff and I each with 43 with 2 weeks left to go. And when it comes to the picking of the games, Jeff and I are tied for the lead with 14 and Bad's one behind us with 13.
Oh, very good. We're still going to do this in the postseason too. I hope you all know that, but that'll be a different set of circumstances. So let's get ready for this week's over under. Dave, are you ready?
I am officially ready.
Okay, so the first one, Russell Wilson passing yards. So total passing yards for Russell Wilson. I've got this line at 215.5. Bryan, what do you think?
I am resting my players this week, so I'm not making a pick. Let's go ahead and go over.
Okay. Dave?
Slightly.
What did he have last week again?
I did look at that. It's right here. He had 217.
That's what I thought. It was right around there.
Yeah.
So this is a good line because that's right around where I would expect him to be. Oh, you know what? I hate to agree, but I'm going to go over as well. I don't want to fall further behind on picking something that I don't believe in.
Yeah, I got to agree. I'm going to go over. I was thinking like 225 is the number that came to my head.
You know what? 370 wouldn't be bad either. I would take that as well.
Hey, this guy has beaten the Chiefs before.
Yeah.
He beat him with the Broncos. So let's go. Okay, anyways, let's go to the next one. Calvin Austin, the third, receiving yards. I've got this line at 60.5. 60.5. The Chiefs are a little banged up at corner. What do you think, Bryan?
Receivers are a conundrum for me. I'm always wrong when it's picking receiver numbers. I love Calvin Austin. He and Skoranek have become some of my favorite Steelers. I love the heart of Austin, but I've got to go under on this just because I just don't really see him. I think he's better when he surprises you.
All right, Dave.
I'm going with the philosophy that I'm writing down my answer before Bryan says his, so that way I actually do a little bit better. Well, I don't know. I haven't done that great all season. I also took the under. I just think that's a little bit much if there's a George Pickens return. It would be great if he did. Oh my goodness, that's really what would be up. Fantastic for the Steelers to have a chance to win this game. But I'm not banking on it.
Yeah, Skoranek being out helps him though.
What's that?
Skoranek being out actually helps him.
I mean, bottom line is now our team's going to correct to guard against Austin because he had a good game last week, and therefore the Steelers are going to look somewhere else.
See, that's why I think for me, this is more about George Pickens playing.
Yes.
If George Pickens plays, they're going to shade his way no matter what, which is going to give Calvin Austin better matchups. And so I like Calvin Austin here in this game to not get double coverage. And I think he started to learn how to beat that coverage at times as well. Mike Williams should also benefit from that. Van Jefferson, if you want to throw him in the mix, I'm going over. I'm going over for Calvin Austin at 60.5. Not by much, but I am going over. All right, next one. Chris Boswell field goals. 2.5 is the line, Brian. Over under.
I always take the over on Boswell. So over again.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
I didn't even get a chance to try to get this picked before Bad threw his answer out there. He was uncharacteristically short-winded. I'll say it that way. So now I was trying to think of what my score was going to be. You know what? I'm actually going to take the under.
I am too, taking the under. But just based on my score prediction that I already wrote down. It's the under. All right, let's go to the next one. Pittsburgh Steelers sacks. This is sacking of the Chiefs quarterbacks. In this case, it would be Patrick Mahomes. I've got the line at a modest 2.5. They only got one against Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes has been sacked more than you would think, way more than Lamar Jackson has been this year. But they also are getting rid of the ball quicker now in the most recent week. You can hear more about this on my Behind Enemy Lines segment coming up tomorrow on Let's Ride's podcast. But Brian, what do you think? 2.5 is the line.
I'm going to go ahead and defer to Dave.
No, I already wrote it down. Go ahead.
Okay, well, then I am going to go ahead and say that I don't like the sack game as of late, and I'm going to go under.
All right, Dave?
I really don't like the sack game as of late. The sacking, the pressure on the quarterback, the tackling. I mean, my goodness, no quarterback hits last game. My goodness, that's just awful. Therefore, I'm going to go over for an overcorrection.
Exactly. Let's do it. Let's sack the hell out of Sideshow Bob. That's Patrick Mahomes, by the way, in his stupid hair. So I love it. Let's go over. If it's 3, I don't care. Let's just get to Patrick Mahomes. Next one, the Steelers turning the ball over. My gosh, they have just had a lengthy streak of turnovers since Russell Wilson has been the quarterback. I've got this line at 1.5. So that's the Steelers turning the ball over. It doesn't have to be a Russell Wilson interception. It could be any turnover. Brian, over under.
I'm actually going to say that they're going to play clean and it's going to be under.
Ooh, I like it. Dave?
I like the 1.5 line. I'm taking under it that way. They can have one, but not more than one.
If it was a half, I still would take the under. I think this is the first time that they are uber protective of the football. I have the under as well. So let's also go to the last one.
Can I say something?
Sure.
The Chiefs, the last 2 weeks, have forced 8 takeaways.
Well,
8.
Who'd they play? They played Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Where they had 6.
The Browns.
They had 2 against the Texans.
The Browns is the Browns.
Jameis in that game, though, too?
Jameis did not play in that game.
Against the Chiefs. Was that just last weekend? I thought that was 2 weekends. I thought that was during the
I think it was Winston, and then they brought in DTR. That was the game that they replaced him.
Yes.
Right?
2 weeks ago, they replaced Winston in the middle of the game, and then DTR started this past week.
Yeah, so against the Browns, so the Chiefs-Browns, Winston started and DTR came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay. But the other number I was going to say is the last 6 games, or the previous 6 games, the Chiefs had only had 2 takeaways total.
Interesting. All right.
So it's up and down for them. What did you say, Jeff?
I said under.
Okay.
Let's go to the last one. Pittsburgh Steelers takeaways. They have been taking the ball away. Last week, only one, though. They had opportunities, but they only got the 1 interception by Minkah Fitzpatrick, who gets off the schneid. Brian, over under on that 1.5.
I got to go under because I just don't see Mahomes turning the ball over very much against the Steelers.
Okay. Dave?
I was really torn Therefore, I want to try to make up some ground, so I will take the over. I specifically waited for that for Bryan, but I'll let Jeff make his pick, and then I'll come back and tell you a little something.
It's over. It's over. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 11 interceptions this season.
You do realize that the Chiefs have not turned the ball over in the last 5 games.
It's a short week. Once. It's Christmas.
But exactly.
It's TJ Watt. It's if you get Deshaun Elliott back, I mean, Dante Jackson being back in the lineup, who has 5 takeaways himself, 5 interceptions. I'm telling you, I think this team can actually make a run at it. So I have the over. And plus, I need to make up ground on Bryan. That is what it is. All right, so there you have the over-under. Let's talk about our game predictions. The Pittsburgh Steelers, as of just before this being recorded, the Pittsburgh Steelers are getting 3 points at home, so the Chiefs are favored by 3. And the over-under is 43.5. 43.5 currently. So let's talk about Bryan. Your score prediction. How do you see us playing out?
All right. I think the Steelers are going to win this game. I feel good about it. But I'm picking the Chiefs 24-23. And the reason I'm making that pick is I feel better when I pick against the Steelers. I think they have more of a chance to win when I pick against them. I went against what my policy last week, and I picked them to beat the Ravens, and you know what? They did not. So I'm going with the reverse mojo. So you can criticize me for picking against the Steelers. I think they're going to win, but my pick is they lose.
All right, Dave, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I think the Steelers really can win this game. I believe, just because I'm a fan and I'm a homer, but at the same time, the Steelers, the last 2 weeks, have played 2 of the best teams in the NFL, both of them on the road. And they have not played winning football. Now, were they up against it because of those 2 things? Absolutely. Now they're playing you can't say the Chiefs aren't the best team in the NFL. Their record says they are, and their 2-time Super Bowl champion status says that they are. Whether you believe they're playing the best, that's a different argument. But to say they are the best, they are based on record and on resume. So therefore, even though it's at home, it's a short week and everything else, the Steelers are still trying to find a way to be able to pull out these games, as Jeff has said before, that they kind of have a razor-thin margin of error in games like this. That's hard to keep that razor-thin margin of error on 4 days, even though you're at home. So what I want to see more than anything from the Steelers is I want to see them play well in this game. I want to see them, play, hang with the Chiefs, and I want to see a close 1-score game. But I'm not going to say that if they lose this game, it ruins my Christmas. I'm actually picking the Chiefs 24-20, so I even have them covering by a point, and that barely has the over. Now, what I ultimately want to see is the Steelers surprise me, but I'm just going on where I think they are. Does this mean? Now, I just got to throw this out there because so many people want to take what happens right now is obviously what's going to happen the second weekend of January. Because that's just how it is, right? No, that's foolish. The Steelers can still get moving and still get themselves in a scenario where they can play a good game in the postseason and see if they could potentially win one, which very likely could be on the road, but we just have to see. So for me, this one is just, I hate the short week coming off the Ravens. The Steelers are not good doing that, but the one time they have done it was when they played at home on a short week after playing the Ravens. So there's a lot of various things that could go in here, but bottom line is it's a very tall order. It's a very tall order, and that's why I'm going with that. I've already written down the Steelers for Jeff because it's just what he does.
Hell yes, that's what I do.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
So for me, I do have the Steelers winning this game. I like the fact that Chiefs have to travel. And Dave said this earlier in the podcast that the home team has a severe advantage here. But I do have a hesitation. I'll bring this comment up. Knight Rider 16 says, look, I understand you guys want to be positive, but we can't ignore how much the NFL cheats for the Chiefs. I'm not one of those people who cries refs either. He's not. He's been a listener and viewer of ours for a long time.
Good one.
And you can't watch Chiefs games and not say, they're calling that. Like that's going to be huge in this contest because there's going to be those moments. It's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and you think you get off the field, and then all of a sudden there's that phantom flag. If that happens a lot, then you're going to know pretty early on it's just not the Steelers' day because I hate being the conspiracy theorist, but I like the conspiracy theories, and I do see them on a weekly basis when you watch the Chiefs. So I do have the Steelers winning this game, though. Chris Boswell nails one to walk it off 24-23. Bryan scored, just flipped Pittsburgh with the win, and I think this is going to be a very close game. Do I think that the 3 points is going to be enough? I think the Steelers win on the money line, but I think this is going to be a game that is just really, really close. And I had a really good conversation. I mentioned the Let's Ride podcast, which will be live on Wednesday morning. So go check it out after you open your presents. And I do have Behind Enemy Lines with Steven Serta, who covers the Chiefs for Fans First Sports Network. They are concerned about this game. From this,
they should be.
They should be. And
they should be.
They're concerned about their secondary. They're losing some pieces. They're concerned about Chris Jones' health and whether he plays, and they're concerned about the Steelers getting George Pickens back and some of the other pieces. So this could be really, really interesting. I'm excited to watch this game, and so I've got the Steelers 24-23. We'll see if
anybody can beat anybody on 4 days rest. It really doesn't show who the better team is. There's just all the outside factors get magnified. That's why I don't like it when it's my team that has to play. I would much rather be entertained on Christmas Day by watching other teams have to go out there and deal with it, not mine. But I will also say this for some people that have thrown it out there about, the Steelers can't beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to put up 40 points to the Steelers. Chiefs have only hit 30 twice this season, one of which was winning in overtime. They've only hit 30 points in a regulation game all season. And that was against the Carolina Panthers. So I think our scores, if the Steelers can score points, I think our scores are all line. I mean, we have the winner with 24 points, all three of us. The only question is how much does the other team score and who wins the game.
Good, Bryan. What are you going to say?
Jeff, if I can make a comment on what you and Knight Rider said, I agree with that wholeheartedly. One thing that I do want to bring up is Thomas Potts here. He mentions that the refs for the game have thrown the most penalties this season. And I think we have seen them before in a Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Whose crew is it?
I'm not sure, but
I'll look it up quick.
It almost sounds like against Indianapolis where the refs were just completely they were rough. So what I'm saying here is that does not bode well for the Steelers, and that makes me nervous. But I want to go the opposite route on the NFL's conspiracy theory. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I think this week for a Christmas Day game at Acrisure Stadium, I think the NFL wants Pittsburgh to win this game. I think it would make for so much more interest to have the Steelers win this game. And if I'm the NFL, I would want it called that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see. I can't find the assignments. Give me a sec.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this sounds really, really weird to say this, but I'd rather be talking about a good, close, hard-fought loss by the Steelers where the officiating was not a factor than anything else where really it's dominated by the officials being a big part of it. I would rather see purely who is playing better and that day winning the game than it is based on the officials having, and honestly, we say the officials, but what's just as bad, if not worse, is when they have to defer to New York. When it goes to New York, you can almost guarantee that it's going to be a Chiefs call. I mean, that's I mean, my goodness. They've become the new Patriots. But after Jesse James caught that ball, those kind of things, that whenever it goes to something like that it's going to be, this is not going to be good for the other team. So I felt that the game on Saturday against Baltimore was one of the few this season where the officials weren't the story. I would love to have another game like that.
So, Dave, what you're saying is replay assist is actually Andy Reid play assist. Thank you. If this mic wasn't as expensive, I'd drop it and I'd be out of here.
I mean, how many of these you busted out today, man?
Yeah. Craig Rolstad is the crew that has this game. I don't remember them having a Steelers game. And I started the Jig is Up article, which I will have to do that after the Chiefs game this week. I analyze all the crews, and I have not written about this crew, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't analyze the crew from it's a fun.
I've read every one of those articles, and I don't remember those names.
No.
Yeah.
I just they list their occupations, and because they're not full-time employees, and so some of them are like, one guy's a middle school principal. It's like, how are you a principal at a middle school, and yet you also are an official, like working a Sunday night game? You just tell your staff, I'm not going to be in on Monday because I got to travel to Houston and do a Texans game. It's just funny.
Can I tell a quick story about that? It's Christmas.
Sure.
It's funny. My best friend lives in Los Angeles, and he was dating a girl this was about 10 years ago. And she wanted to learn more about the Steelers. So he said, I tell you what, let's go ahead and watch this game together. And if I bring out any game, I'm going to bring out the Steelers and Colts in 2006, 2005 season, the famous Jerome Bettis fumble, the tackle game, and they're watching this game, and it gets to Troy Polamalu. The interception that was nullified, and he goes, yeah, that son of a B ref, and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, that was my high school principal.
That's
It's funny. I'm waiting for it to happen when it's like I have expected Steelers Ravens, or sometime when it's like a Steelers playoff game, or even Week 18, that you'll get that head official for the week. They'll say something like some sort of engineer, when really they could just put rocket scientist. The official that actually works with my wife, that lives in Baltimore, which I say it's foolish when I have seen him earlier this year officiating Ravens games. I'm like, not that he would call it for the Ravens. I just worry for the dude's safety. If you live in that market and you're an official and you have a call that costs the team the game, there's some crazy people out there. I'd stay away from that if I was the NFL, but
especially in Baltimore. Gosh.
Yeah. What if Jack Callis finds out?
Yeah.
What a hellhole. Anyways.
Hey, one last thing about officials. I think a key thing to this game is going to be, now he's the one who's questionable, if I'm right, the one that constantly jumps off sides.
Yes.
For the Chiefs. Yeah. Are they going to call that early or not? If you see him constantly trying to get a head start on, is he the right to? Would that be against TJ Watt, or would that be against?
They had to move.
It's against TJ Watt.
That is because they had to move Tooney to left tackle because of the injuries there. So it's right side. Yeah.
So that those guys are going to be trying to go early. Are they going to call it? Or are they just going to let it go? And the problem with letting it go, as the game goes on, they let it go worse and worse and worse. And here you are in the closing moments, and they're getting a huge advantage, but they won't call it because they didn't start calling it when it was even less earlier in the game.
Who are we talking about? The guy from Boys to Men? Wanye Morris.
Yeah.
Wanye Morris was named after the guy from Boys to Men, Wanye Morris.
Oh, okay.
Just thought I'd tell you.
No, I'm talking
about. Are we talking about Morris?
No. What are you talking about?
The big tackle? No, Dave mentioned him in the
Jones or something.
Or
I don't.
Hold on, Taylor. I thought it was Taylor. That was the one that's constantly
Taylor,
and he's hurt.
But we don't even know if he's playing. He's questionable. So
then we would get Boys to Men. We'd get Wanye.
Yeah.
I mean, folks, the folks that are watching or listening, which first, God bless you because it's Christmas Eve, or maybe it's Christmas Day. You got a George Michael reference and a Boys to Men reference in the same damn podcast. Like,
wait till final thoughts. It's gonna be
epic. No. Let's do the super chat quick for I don't want it to get stale. A Steel gives us $4.99, says Merry Christmas, fam. Appreciate your work. Let's shock the world tomorrow. And Bad, rest up. We need you for the playoffs. God bless y'all. Hey. Love it. Love it. Very good.
There was a lot of references in there. That was a good one.
That was.
They made the most out of their $4.99.
Oh my gosh. George T says, can you imagine Chris Collinsworth as a ref instead of a color analyst? No, I don't want. I like Chris Collinsworth, but he does go overboard with certain players, and Patrick Mahomes is one of them.
Yeah.
There was somebody that mentioned earlier that if he was green, he would look like the Grinch.
Yeah.
Chris Collinsworth.
I think anyone.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Look like the Grinch.
Who's announcing these games? It's Netflix. Do we know this?
Isn't it JJ Watt? This has the Steelers game. He's like he's the
I
Not the
swear I
play-by-play,
don't know the
he was.
answer to this. Who is announcing these games?
It's an
think
all-star cast.
Isn't it like
Oh,
the
God.
Eagles? Because they're bringing it from. Isn't Ian and his son doing one of the games together along with? I know J.J. Watt. I thought was supposed to be with the Steelers.
There are so many names.
Yeah, because they're just allowed to bring everybody in from everywhere. I really am worried about the streaming of this game. That's why I have NFL Plus Premium, where I can watch it on a mobile device. So if it keeps freezing, at least I have my iPad ready to go where I can watch the game, just not on the big TV. Jeff his face is grimacing, trying to figure out who the
It is the
Kansas
Eagles.
City Chiefs take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at 1 p.m. Who cares about pregame crap? Ian Eagle will be the play-by-play announcer.
Mhm.
Nate Burleson from NFL Today and CBS Mornings, like anyone watches that, and J.J. Watt, former defensive end in CBS. That's their crew. Ian Eagle, Nate Burleson, and J.J. Watt. First and foremost, I hate three-man booths because it never works. I mean, Ian Eagle's got to run that show. But I like Ian Eagle. I just don't know about these other two guys.
It's JJ. I love JJ. You know he's biased.
Now, the second game, Texans-Ravens, you have Noah Eagle. Ian Eagle's
See, I
son.
thought they put the Eagles together, but they didn't.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Ian Eagle's great. His son needs some work.
Yeah.
Greg Olson is fantastic. He's on that
Yeah.
game. Jamie Erdahl and Steve Weiss, a 4-person booth. Shoot me now. Gosh, at least it's not Tom Brady again. If I have to hear his freaking voice.
Oh, he's
Anyways,
All I know is that you can't. If you're going to say stuff bad against the Steelers, J.J. Watt is the biggest dude of those three by far. So Nate Burleson, you would have to run away fast. They're not going to want to tick off J.J. Watt. They're going to have to be extremely complimentary in my eyes, or else J.J. is going to not put up with that.
I don't
He's turned
think
into quite the
JJ
Steelers fan.
I think JJ would be calling a biased game.
Yeah.
DJ as a sax. You're going to hear JJ Watt go, yeah, bro, yeah. All right. Anyways. All right, Brian, you ready for some thoughts, like randomness that you have in your brain?
Yeah. So bad memories. I've got two. And they're so it's Christmas, you got to give them to me. So first one is December 5th, 1982. Steelers versus Chiefs. I turned 11 on December 3rd, 1982, and my dad announced to me, "You're going to your first ever Steelers game." So we went to this game. I got to see, this was the strike year. I got to see Bradshaw to Stallworth, like a 75-yard pass. I got to see a Jack Lambert interception. I got to see so many great things in that game. It was just wonderful. It was my first ever experience, and I've been going back ever since. I also want to go to December 24th, 1989, Christmas Eve, since this is Christmas Eve. So we're going to go back, 35 years? If I can do my math correctly. And I'm going to talk about a game, Steelers at Tampa Bay. It was 30-some degrees for this game. The Steelers had to have 3 teams lose. The Colts, the Raiders, and the Bengals, just to get into the playoffs with Bubby Brister at quarterback. Lewis Lips had the game of his life. He was absolutely fantastic. Barry Foster. Not Barry Foster. Who was Tim Worley, excuse me. I'm mixing up my big rookies. So rookie Tim Worley had a great game in this game. It happened. They won the game. It wasn't easy. They won that game and then turned around. The Saints beat the Colts. The Giants beat the Raiders. And then on Christmas night, on Monday Night Football, the Vikings beat the Bengals. The Steelers went into the playoffs, then shocked the world on December 31st, beating the Oilers and getting Jerry Glanville fired. So with that being said, I have great memories of that game. I also remember my dad was working for FedEx, and they were off on Sundays. And we got a call from FedEx saying, "Hey, can you come in?" And my dad, who does not drink, but he was doing all this stuff for he was watching the game, but he was also doing so much stuff for Christmas Eve. My mom said, "Oh, let me call him. He just went up to the neighbors for a Christmas drink." And it was a fib. I get it, but it's 35 years ago. He's fine. He's retired. It doesn't matter. And so that got him from being out on Christmas Eve, and he was home with us. The funny thing about it, the night before was a Saturday night. He got home at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, working for FedEx, delivering packages. So I'm going to go ahead and say this: when you think about the Amazon drivers, the UPS, the FedEx, the postal service drivers that are delivering those last minute gifts that you just say, oh, Amazon says I can get this for Christmas, and you're ordering it on Christmas Eve and you're still doing it. Those people working, they deserve a tip this time of year, and they deserve applause. So thank you to them.
Okay,
That was like 4
final
minutes.
thoughts too?
What's that?
Was that your final thoughts?
Oh, no. My final thoughts are better than that.
Because that was what, like 4 minutes?
That was close. We were.
You know what? I deserve it.
It's supposed to be 90 seconds. He decided to take advantage of the holiday and spend 15 minutes, and now still thinks
that's
he gets
your gift to me, Jeff, because I know you didn't. There's nothing under my tree from the Hartman family, so that's your gift.
There's nothing under my tree from my own damn family. What are you talking about? Everyone else gets crap, and Jeff's there's wearing sweatshirts from high school, but nonetheless.
All right, so I have to ask: have you seen the Saturday Night Live skit from a couple years ago about the mom and I got a robe? It's Christmas.
That's
morning.
Me in my house, but I don't even get a robe. I get nothing. But all my money just disappears.
Yeah.
I'll buy you some. I
don't want anything. I don't need anything.
I actually gave you your Christmas gift last month.
That's right. You did. Okay. So since Bryan just talked a lot, I'm going to have Dave do his. I'm going to give Dave the felt up final thoughts this week. I'm in the Christmas mood.
What are you talking about? I haven't done trivia yet.
Oh my gosh, so trivia? Damn, this is a long show. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're stuffing stockings, Jeff.
Jeez and rice. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try to make this quick. All right, the Steelers are trying to become the team with the most Wednesday victories in NFL history. When did the Steelers last play on a Wednesday? I got to give you some easy ones before I give you once you get to it.
2020.
What was that? 2020, where they defeated the Ravens.
The Ravens.
What's the only other game since the merger that occurred on a Wednesday?
Was it? No, the Christmas Day game against the Texans wasn't a Wednesday.
No.
I don't remember then.
I don't know. It could have been 2010 when the Vikings had their stadium collapse.
It was actually 2012 in week 1 when it was Dallas at the Giants.
Yep.
There was a scheduling conflict with going on Thursday to open up the season, so they actually played it on Wednesday night rather than Thursday night, where Dallas won that game 24-17.
Yeah, that was the defending champion game.
Yes. So that was in week 1. Any idea who the two teams were who played the next most recent game on a Wednesday? I'm not going to sit here and give you guys a bunch of time and waste time because you're not going to get it. No, because the game before that was played on a Wednesday was where the Los Angeles Dons defeated the New York Yankees 20-10 in 1948.
The Dons, were they like mafia bosses?
I'm just telling you what they were. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have an opportunity to win their. I gotta double check this to make sure I have this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. On a 1, 2, I can't count anymore. 3, 4, 5. They have a chance to win their 6th game on a Wednesday. They're currently have played more Wednesday games than any other, especially active franchise in NFL history. This will be their 12th one. They'll have a chance to get to 500. They're currently 5-6, but they'll be the only active franchise to get to 6 wins. Right now, they're tied with 5 wins with the New York Giants, who did not win that game in 2012. Any idea what the team that they would have to pass would be, who has now won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on a Wednesday, and they can't be end running. I'm not going to wait very long for you because it's not like you're ever going to get it. That would be the Portsmouth Spartans.
Oh, that's what I was going to guess.
Who played that many games on a Wednesday. So in other words, I'm showing you the ridiculousness of playing a game on a Wednesday, especially this late in the season. The NFL was forced to do it during COVID. They started one day early when teams had a break coming into the season anyway. That game that was on a Wednesday before wasn't that they had to play early. It's that they got pushed back from playing late the week before. So we're into some real unprecedented territory coming from, my goodness, since the friggin' 40s.
Wow.
Was Buzz Nutter on that team?
I think Dick Shiner was.
Okay.
This is pre-Dick Shiner. Come on. This is like 20 years before Dick Shiner.
Like Johnny Blood McNally.
Dick Shiner's previous life. It's like the latest iteration of Dick Shiner. So, all right. So let's, is that it, Dave? I don't want to cut off your trivia because I forgot about your trivia.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and just so you know, that game where the Los Angeles Dons beat the New York Yankees, they played it on a Wednesday. They had already, their previous game was 10 days ahead of that. So it's not like they were playing on a short week.
So they had the extended bye.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, New York Yankees, without thinking about Tommy Boy. When Richard, that's a pretty girl out there. You think she dates one of the Yankees? All right, go ahead, Bryan. You can go first with your final thoughts.
All right, I will be brief on this, and I'm not very religious here, but I will be going to church, celebrating with my family, and I remember this. We want to remember that this time of the season, why this is the time of the season and what we all celebrate. It's great to celebrate with presents. It's great to celebrate with friends and family. And I'm going to be doing all of that. We're going to have some people over here watching the game that we weren't previously expected to do so. But I am going to go ahead and ask for a prayer for our Pittsburgh Steelers. May they get through this game healthy and with a victory, sweet baby Jesus, on your birthday. We appreciate everything that you do for us. And while you're doing that, please look out for Andrew Ridgely, the former partner of George Michael, music partner. He was not a romantic partner because he dated the woman. He was dating the woman from Bananarama for a lot of years, and now he's decided to get rid of monogamy at 61 years old, and he has like multiple girlfriends. So I'm worried that one of them might kill him. So we cannot lose another member of Wham while the Pittsburgh Steelers are winning a football game. So please, last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but please, this year, don't take away Andrew Ridgely. Merry Christmas, fellas. I love both of you. I love all of you in the live chat.
It's a sacrifice we're willing to make, though.
So you're giving up Andrew Ridgely for... Well, they won when George Michael died. So
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a sacrifice we're willing to make.
Dave's just like, I gotta go.
Merry Christmas, everybody. You filthy animals.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead. Is that
is it? I thought you had to say that it was the whatever version of...
Well, I gave Bryan the felt up, so you get full frontal this week.
Okay. Well... I will say this. It's really tough on these players playing on such a short week. I mean, my goodness, do they know it's Christmas time at all because of this going on? Because
Michael and Andrew Ridgely were in that. By the way,
is it snowing? Is it snowing in Africa?
No. Well, there won't be snow in Pittsburgh this Christmas time. No. It's going to be some interesting weather. So yeah, I don't know if they know it's Christmas time at all, but whether the Steelers win or lose, it is what it is. They're, like I said, they're playing the best team on their schedule when it comes to record wise. So come out there, should do the unexpected, shock the world, get it done, and show that you can pull off a game like this. And it's going to completely change Jeff's fan DEFCON level on his show, which I would love to see that change. But to me, this is a different holiday time for me just because of everything that's been going on with my family. And part of me does not like that the Steelers are playing at 1:00 because I have to change up some of my regular traditions and timing wise. But honestly, this is a different Christmas, so I might as well change up stuff anyway. Enjoy the game. Enjoy it with people you love. This is going to be the first game and probably the only game this season that I'm going to get to watch with my father. So I'm just going to take it for what it is and enjoy it and hopefully have something to cheer about along with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I will say this, I hope everyone enjoys the game, but there are times where I know I'm not alone on the Steel Curtain Network when I feel like Kevin Bacon at the very end of Animal House, when complete bedlam is going crazy and he's saying, stay calm, all is well. And it gets fatigue. It can cause some fatigue. And normally my final thoughts are listen to Let's Ride tomorrow, which I do want you to listen to Let's Ride tomorrow. It's still going to be there. And I'm going to expound on this a little bit. But at the same time, let's just enjoy the fact that the Steelers are going to be in the playoffs. And let's hope they pull out a win here. And we want them to do it right. At the same time, man, I just want them to put a good performance out there. Dave talked about that early in the show. And we will be back here afterwards, myself, Bryan, to do the post-game show, even on Christmas Day. You're still going to have winners and losers the day after Christmas. We do not stop. Like, this is our job. We take this very serious. And it's not just here on the podcast platform or on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get your podcast by searching Steel Curtain Network. SteelCurtainNetwork.com is our website. Give it a check. SteelCurtainNetwork.com. We appreciate all of our listeners, readers, followers, you name it. We are nothing without you. So we thank you all for that. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, a happy holidays. And Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
We'll see you next week at some point. Take it easy.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.